So this morning's topic is creating winning retail strategies for social commerce. And I'm joined by some very special speakers, experts on this topic. First of all, we have Kenneth Tan, the co-founder and CEO of BeLive Technology, a social live streaming platform product that enables brands to live stream across all verticals, including e-commerce, technology, fashion, beauty, and more. Welcome, Kenneth.
Hey, Lacey. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. Big pleasure to be here.
Kenneth is also a Singapore native and was voted Singapore Entrepreneur of the Year by the Computer Society in 2021. So very happy to have you here today. Joining us as well is Suzie Wang. Suzie Wang is Head of Strategic Projects and Partnerships at Mediacorp. Suzie has over 20 years experience in digital marketing, content, and commerce. She also heads up Mediacorp's own e-commerce strategy and is the founder behind Wondershop. Wondershop is a content commerce stream that inspires shoppers of Mediacorp's entertainment and social channels to helping brands to storify their stories and drive conversions on our platform. So great to have you here, Suzie.
Thanks, Lacey. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And my name is Lacey Ewin. I'm the digital commercial lead here at Mediacorp, and I'm here today to help facilitate this conversation on social commerce. So before we dive into all the great content that we've got for you today, we wanted to take a quick audience poll just to understand within the room the experience and exposure that the audience has had to e-commerce at this stage. So we'll just take a few moments to run this poll. The question is, has your brand embarked on social commerce? Okay, we're closing the poll now. Interesting. So 38% of you in the room has said yes, you've embarked on social commerce. 31% said no. We had 10% planning to do so in the next 3 to 6 months, and 21% not yet sure how to go about it. So Kenneth, Suzie, it's clear we have a mixed bag in the room. So when we go through our content, it'll be interesting to frame it from this perspective, understanding we do have some newbies that haven't yet embarked on social commerce as well. So before we get into the speakers, I just wanted to frame the conversation from a commercial standpoint in terms of what we're hearing from brands in terms of their concerns. So the first question that we're often getting from brands is really, how can we balance that short-term and long-term investment? And what they mean by that is, investing in the upper funnel brand marketing versus driving conversion. And social commerce plays an interesting role within this because essentially it is content, but it also has a KPI of driving conversion. So I'm very keen, Kenneth and Suzie, to hear your thoughts on this later on as well. The second question we get when it comes to social commerce is really, it's a complex and fragmented ecosystem. So how do we know where to funnel our attention and our money? And this is particularly important for SMEs or smaller brands that have limited resources available, knowing which channels to choose to get started. The third is really harnessing omni-channel potential and utilizing first-party data. So we know some of the obvious choices is to go with the big brands and the behemoths like Lazada, but again, they are first-party data, holding onto that data. They are walled gardens. So what are some of the ways that we can utilize social commerce to retain our own first-party data? And how can we also harness omni-channel? Because one of the things that we know from an omni-channel perspective is the size of an omni-channel buyer's basket tends to be larger. The studies by Google and Walk show that it's 1.5 to 2.1% larger than the average consumer. So how can brands get a bigger piece of their pie and look to diversify their social commerce with an omni-channel strategy as well? So just looking at the landscape as a whole, Walk and Google did a study over 16 countries, and they looked at existing and emerging channels for brands across SEA when it comes to purchasing on digital. So we know that during the pandemic, it really accelerated digital marketing, and it accelerated digital purchasing on e-commerce, shoppertainment, social commerce, and more. So much so that I think it's grown 3 times the size that it was before the pandemic. And there's also estimates that by 2024, it's going to overtake that of physical stores. So we do know for brands, this is something that they should be putting their attention on. We do know based on this study that Google and Walk has done that they're looking at online marketplaces now as traditional e-commerce, and things like social commerce are really the emerging and scaling markets that we need to look at as brands. So I'm curious, moving on to the speaker portion, Suzie, can you tell us the difference between e-commerce and social commerce, and what are the things that brands need to consider?
Okay, thanks, Lacey. Okay, I'm just gonna control the slides a bit. Okay, so great that the audience looks like, I think about 50% have not gone into social media. So let me just start by defining what exactly is social commerce, right? And it is actually a subset of e-commerce, right? Social commerce is a subset of e-commerce, but it's a very human approach to e-commerce, right? So if you are in e-commerce, on a daily basis, you're dealing with things like product listing, category management, search, recommendation engine, boring stuff, right? But important stuff, but they are very, very functional. But when it comes to social commerce, right, frequently the words you use are, it's about content, it's about experience, it's about storytelling, community influence, and these are and engagement, of course, and these are important words. And I'll spend a bit of time to talk about examples in a bit, but just the basic definition, right? So social commerce is a subset of e-commerce, and to give a more granularity to it, it's basically the integration of product discovery, the integration of social experiences and e-commerce transaction. So basically in the sales funnel, what you really want to do is drive consumers down the funnel really quickly, right? From product discovery all the way to checkout very quickly. So in social commerce, you can do that very efficiently. It's almost like a sales funnel compression, right? So from the point of inspiration to the point of checkout, it happens within the social media platform, or it could be enabled by social media platform, right? So you imagine things like content, audience engagement, seamless checkout. These are key success factors, okay? So with these two definition of what social commerce is to me, okay, so you'll hear a lot about discovery commerce, right, in the next few slides. So early on, I talk about the sales funnel where you are catching consumers at the point of product discovery. Now, we all know that there are basically 2 types of shoppers, right? The first, they know exactly what they want, right? And mostly guys, I guess. I need to buy some nails, right? And you walk into a hardware store and you buy exactly what you need. But for most of us, myself included, we tend to prefer browsing, getting that inspiration what to buy. You want to shop around, browse around. So this chart basically shows that from the survey, we know that more than 50% of online purchases are actually discovery-led, right, versus search-led. Search-led, frequently you kind of know what you want and you search specifically for the best price or where to get it, what are the promotions. But discovery-led means you want to be inspired, right? You want to understand the product attributes. You want to be delighted, right, in shopping. So in the discovery-led shopping, out of the 53%, so which channels are the most important for discovery-led? No surprises, it's definitely social media that takes up, social media, short video and messaging that takes up about 62%, right? So in short, what I'm saying here is why we're here in this room, because the future online retail is really discovery driven, and social media is indeed the most important driver of discovery, right? So definitions and why it matters. And what about in the local context, right? If you look at this data, users will ask, what were the main reasons you use social media? And out of the top 15, 5 of them are related to commerce, right? Things, for example, finding content, 26%, finding inspiration for things to do and buy is 25%, right? So this really is about placing yourself, your products and services at the point where consumers are in the discovery phase, all right? So that's the local statistics we have. So what about the opportunities, right? How big is the market? So globally, we know right now it's roughly about $500 billion. Social commerce is worth about $500 billion. Now, by 2025, it's projected to grow up to 1.2 trillion. That's like 2.5 times. So that's huge, right? And in terms of contribution to total e-commerce, it's taking up about, social commerce is taking about 10% of all e-com spend, and definitely is expected to rise about 17% by there's a typo there, 2025, right? So it's 3 times as fast as e-commerce. That's something for us to know. About locally, in Singapore right now, in 2020, last year, the entire e-com is worth 14 billion USD. Worth 9 billion USD, and by 2027 is worth 14 billion. So imagine if social commerce is about 20-30% share, that's huge, about 4 billion worth as a market.
Wow. So Suzie, I think you beautifully here encapsulated the size of the opportunity, right? 14 billion is obviously nothing to be sneezed at, and there is definitely an opportunity to be had by brands. So I guess the next question that I would naturally have is, what are some of the channels, the formats that they can consider to embark on this journey?
Yeah, okay, so great question. And I just want to put most of you be wondering, how do I start? What exactly do I do with social? What do I produce? What do I do on social media? Do I slap on my ad, right, on social media and hope for the best, right? Because it's clickable, right? So far from that, I'm going to put them into 3 buckets. First is content-based and shoppable videos. Kenneth will spend quite a bit of time to talk about videos in a bit, but just showing you an example of what we've done on the shop. So I'll turn on the sound. So basically, we've engaged our shopping hosts, our influencers, to do demos and explainers. And this is a story, actually, it's definitely clickable to our e-store to purchase. So you can see that. And this is an example. I asked my daughter to, tell me what's up, right, on Instagram. And this is, sorry, let's just control that. Geez, the button has gone a little bit crazy. Okay, so in this example on Instagram, you see the green bar, right? This is what I mean by sales funnel compression. At the point of storytelling, you click on the shoppable button, it brings you to a catalog, and you can make a purchase immediately, right? So that you catch them at the point of inspiration and consideration. So, and this is the TikTok example. So again, TikTok is different in that there's a TikTok shop as well. Sorry, let me just get my. Okay, so basically the example shows there are some shoppable moments that you can shop within the platform, like TikTok shop. And there are some shoppable moments where it needs to be clicked to your e-store, but is enabled by the social commerce, by the social media platform, right? So the link actually brings you to the catalog, as seen in the second example, and then it brings you to your product page. Now, other than content-based, it can be experience-based. Okay, so this example of live commerce, right? And everything has happened as it goes. There's no hardly any script, just pointers, demos, explainers, unboxing. So this is a Facebook example. Again, the links are clickable and you shop within the platform. Shop meaning is enabled by the platform, right? So another example would be, that experience would be virtual tryouts, right? Snapchat does that very nicely. So you have a lady here trying on different handbags, right, to look at the colors, right? So basically, experience is about making online shopping fun, right? Online shopping can be very unfun. I'm sure some of you agree, right? You go through multiple listings and all that. So this is the experience is about pulling in your consumers, making the experience interesting and engaging for them. Now, the final category is network. Okay, so I'm sure some of you have bought things from group buys. WeBuy is one that has about 3,000 leaders, community leaders, and they work with suppliers to sell in bulk, right? So what this means is the community can band together and buy things that is according to their interest at a special rate. And this is an organized group buy, right? And there's also secondhand marketplaces like Facebook Marketplace. Right, so three buckets that you can consider, right, and all very different execution. Okay, so these are the examples. Now, so I'll just talk very briefly what are the different advantages, right? And since most of you are just starting out, well, definitely it's about growing your audience, right? And when you collaborate with creators, each of them comes with a different reach according to their community base, right? And it's great also for reaching beyond local market. We know many successful live streamers now, they are using their reach into other markets to sell products and services as well. Definitely building a stronger customer relationship. I know of this example where the eyelash company, for everyone that comments, on her social commerce posts, she reaches out to them with a discount code, one by one when she's first starting out. I think that was a great example of how with social commerce is no longer a faceless customer, right? You can reach out to them directly. Now, insights, I'll just share from a live streaming perspective because I do a lot of that, is that when we do live streaming, right, we do look at the stats real time, and it's really helpful because you can see where the peaks are, at which point do people drop off, at which point do people buy, and then you tailor your content according to the reactions from the customers, right? And frequently when we see that the sales is not moving, we do things like, hey, stocks are limited, it's going. If you need to grab it before it is gone, and you can see the instant reaction. So it's very instant feedback that we get. And of course, with the data, you can do personalization and targeting. And finally, for better conversions, definitely, I'm sure everyone heard of how in China, the kind of live streaming success they have is kind of nuts, right? For them, live streaming conversion can be up to 30%. We've heard of how they've sold things in one day more than what Amazon can do in a month combined for just 2 influencers. So definitely better conversions, getting the insights, and growing and engaging audience. Okay, so with that, okay, I just want to share a little bit about what we are doing on social commerce. So earlier I explained that it could be enabled by social commerce or within the social commerce platform. So this is the example where we have actually enabled our own platform with social commerce capabilities, right? You see here, what we have done is a live streaming experience. And on MeWatch is our OTT platform. And at the bottom, there are actually all these engagement buttons that we can trigger for that you can like, you can comment, you can share. And then when you trigger button, you actually can look at all the various products and services you can buy instantly, right? You don't have to go to so many different browsers. So you can do an in-app in-web experience as well. Okay, so this is our live streaming IP called Wondershop. Now, I'll share also very quickly some of the key learnings from live commerce that we've done in Mediacorp. So earlier I shared one of the advantages of social commerce is reaching a different target audience or expanding the target base. So to give some background, actually I'm involved in home shopping business as the first business when we started off in 2019. Now, home shopping audience was of a certain age demographic, right? So they tend to be about 50 and above. So we said, how do we reach the 35 to 49, for example? So we went to live commerce, and we've seen the results where by going to live commerce, we actually simulcast, right, on MeWatch as well as Facebook. And the audience is actually younger compared to the home shopping business. So I'm making a point that, you know, because social commerce, we have 5 million users in Singapore, right? Your influencers targeting different target audience, work with them, you know, find your audience, right? The second bit is about engagement. So I shared about advantages of having that close relationship with your customers through social commerce. Through engagement tools like polls, comments, like, and share, we have seen engagement rate of 35%, right? Which is crazy, right? Compared to what you see on most social media platforms. And also what's interesting is the high time spent on this content. Okay, so I just want to pause for a minute to explain why the time spent at 90 minutes, you think about it, actually is an ad, a live commerce, right? You're talking about products and services. It's actually a very long advertisement. But why is the time spent so huge at 19 minutes? It's because, as the name implies, that it's not just about stuffing the product attributes down the throat, but it's sharing the brand attribute, sharing how you can use it, you know, how you can enrich your life, right? So it's a form of what we call shoppertainment that really engages the audience. Okay.
So Suzie, I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing you need to tailor your strategy on social commerce according to your audience, because it could be very different based on different demographics as well, right? I'm hearing the need to build urgency with customers in terms of the deals that you have on the table as well. And obviously the need to make sure that that content is engaging and not just driving lower funnel conversion. So I think that's been very clear. I might just stop because we have a few questions coming in. And I might just ask you this question that came in from the panel, and Kenneth, feel free to jump in as well if you have something to say. But the question came in, it said, any advice on how we differentiate ourselves from competitors that are already on social commerce platforms?
Differentiate from competitors? Okay, so at the heart of social commerce is the storification of products. Like, how do you storify your products, right? And we see on social media a lot of demos like, you know, I use this is what happened. You know, it kind of became a template. And I agree that sometimes it's hard to stand out from the clutter, right? So I'll encourage you to be really creative, because on social media, there's really not much rules, you know, and I've seen like live streaming, you know, some people do it very differently. I recently saw a live stream, they unbox their luxury good and they throw it aside very dramatically, right? It's just for dramatic effect. And I thought, you know, it caught my attention, right? So I'll encourage you, whether it's live streaming or social posts, don't seek perfection, right? Just do it, just start somewhere, because at the end of the day, your brand story, right? You're confident of your products and services. You can work with different influencers. You can work with internal brand advocates, right? It doesn't always have to be engaging influencers, for example. So what I'm trying to say is that be creative about it. For us, you know, there seems to be a template for live streaming out there. Right? So we ask ourselves, we follow exactly what they're doing. Right? We don't have to. So the beauty of live streaming is it gives you instant data. You can try something this week, try something next week, and see what it sticks, which caters to your audience. Yeah.
Interesting. So experimentation, I guess consistency in terms of making sure that you're continually trying new things. And the other one that you mentioned was really, I think you drove home the idea of storification and how important that was for the brand. So that's very interesting.
Yes, I'm going to jump in a bit as well, reinforcing Suzie's point on the brand story. I would actually look at boiling down your brand and the product with first principles, looking at what kind of essence is your brand story communicating. For example, if you are marketing a tea product, right, you're selling English breakfast tea, or you're selling a wellness product, you don't want to look at tea lovers. You want to look at the beneficiaries of the people who drink your tea. For example, in the wellness space, there might be influencers who are really very much focused on increasing their mental capacity in terms of awareness, in terms of mental sharpness. They might be people who engage in activities that are very similar to yoga or Pilates. Right? So you really kind of target these niches and aim to forge a very strong following there. It might be just 100 advocates, 100 advocates, it doesn't matter, because these first advocates and these first ambassadors will spread the message across the group, and it's so much easier to catch fire with such a targeted niche, right? So in essence, boil it down to first principles. What does your brand communicate? Who do they speak to? And don't look at the general category tea levels, cutlery levels. It doesn't matter. We're not going to stand up from such a broad and go deep and go focused and go targeted.
That's a great point. So in terms of, not needing to worry about reaching the masses or millions, but really focusing on the quality of your audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great. Moving on, Suzie.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Okay. I see questions. We'll deal with it. Let me just finish up this last slide. And we'll be happy to take questions, right? So I mentioned how we started off with home shopping as a business, right? As in Mediacorp's first entrance into content commerce was the home shopping business. And very quickly we realized that, storification of products is so important, because we did a revamp of the content for home shopping, right? And we took over from our partner, and we because previous version was done in Malaysia and wasn't repurposed for the local market. So we put in Mediacorp special sauce on it, right? We put in our celebrities, we put in our content production infrastructure, right? And then we just pivoted to a format that really sticks with the audience. So with that, we realized that storytelling is so important. And then we went to live streaming, right? Live streaming is a little bit different from home shopping in that it's very instantaneous, it's live, right? And like what Kenneth said, is really communicating your brand attributes and product attributes. And very important is always tell the customers what is the problem you're trying to solve in their life, right? When you approach, you don't start going on, how wonderful your product is. It's really addressing the problem that you're trying to fix in their life, right? So that's shopping inspiration. So, okay, let me quickly just take you through. So for us, we simulcast on NewWatch as well as Facebook. But then we ask ourselves, how do we maximize the content, right? So we actually look at beyond live stream. What we have done is we have edited the live streams into social commerce short videos that are clickable, shoppable, right? That's one. And of course, we cannot forget FTA. Oops, sorry. Right. So in this case, we've edited and we've put it on air, as in our TV channels, and put a scannable code there, right? A QR code, and it's worked really well. People are actually scanning the TV screen thanks to what we went through with Trace Together, right? E-newsletter and as well as shoppable article. So really, it's not just about live stream per se. So I encourage some of you where you say, oh, let's just put everything in live stream. Think about what you can do with the content, the storytelling that you have already done on live stream, and how it expands across content formats. And in terms of the omni-channel sales approach, don't forget that other than driving to your own e-store, your product pages, there's also the network-based social commerce that I've mentioned. So we do group buys, and what's interesting is the people buying group buys are actually the products that didn't quite work sometimes, right, through live stream, actually worked on group buy very well. So it's just different audience as well. Okay.
So just to rehash that, so I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that brands that want to do social commerce, they can basically do their live streaming and they can recreate the content, cut it up in different ways, make sure that it goes on, television, OTT, different platforms, extend the life of that content beyond the live stream itself.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So in that sense, I guess it would also be saving money on content production, because they can just take one piece and carve it across many different platforms as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something for all of us to think about. And I would advise and encourage everyone at the point of producing a live stream, start thinking of the other funnels, right? And then you pre-plan your live streaming production in a way that, you know, okay, that's the endpoint you want to get. For example, you need a short video and you need close-up shots. So ahead of time during the live streaming, you plan that in so that at the end you have those shots to actually edit, right? So plan with the end in mind. Yeah.
Interesting. Anything to add to that, Kenneth? Sorry, Kenneth, I think you're still on mute.
I'm trying to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really very focused on what Suzie mentioned about maximizing, amplifying your single piece of content. Live stream commerce is great for doing that, right? Because you have many moments that you can slip in. And we've seen our customers, which I'll talk about much more later, be very successful in producing a single live stream and then, you know, really reaching out to a lot of people who didn't manage to catch a live stream after that, right? And a lot of conversions, right? 50%, we have actually recorded almost 50% of engagement and conversions come after the live stream. So don't think that, you know, a single live stream is your, you know, if it succeeds, you are successful. If it fails, you are failure. It doesn't mean that a single content can be make or break, right? Make sure that we apply it. I think that's one kind of reinforce as well. Yeah. All right. So Lacey, if you have no other questions, can I move on to the next
Please
section?
do.
Awesome. So I'm gonna kind of really focus on video, right? And I want to explain a bit more on why video for social commerce is the future, and we think it's the present as well. Right? Okay, very quickly, talking a bit about BeLive. We are a video solutions provider that has been fortunate enough to work with some of the largest brands and platforms in the world, right? We have worked with brands like Mediacorp, of course, Grab, in Indonesia, Bukalapak, which is the largest social commerce platform in Indonesia with 70 million monthly active users. In Japan, Rakuten, which has 100 million monthly active users, and even in Africa, Jumi and Konga, the largest e-commerce platforms in Africa, work with BeLive to broadcast live video and shoppable short videos to their audiences. Yeah. And you know, this has really hit me quite a bit, right? The way we interact, even the way we're communicating right now is no longer the same. 4 years ago, no one would have thought that we would have 60 people in a webinar. Right? Everybody would think that this would be done offline and purely offline. But the truth is, the way we interact has changed forever. And the world now is a swipeable media generation. Right? When I talk about swipeable media, I talk about TikTok, but not only TikTok. I talk about Facebook Reels. I talk about Instagram Reels and Shorts. I talk about YouTube Shorts. And I talk about even Netflix in America has released their own short video section. Right? So everybody is obsessed about consuming video. And this is really, you know, enhanced by the statistic that 82% of internet usage last year, 82%, a staggering 82%, was for online videos. This will still continue to grow, right, on top of it. If you talk about video being the primary mode of communication, you would then have to talk about video first commerce, right? Which is what Suzie, you know, very eloquently depicted in all her previous slides. But kind of zooming a little bit onto what the future perhaps can hold for video first commerce in China, right? 470 billion last year was driven by live shopping sales. To give you a bit of a benchmark or grounding, right? Live commerce in China makes up about 30% of total GMV, e-commerce GMV in China, whereas for the rest of the world, it's a mere 1 to 2%. Right? So there's a lot of room to grow. And the people who are on this webinar, I think all of you are thought leaders. You have attended this webinar with the kind of spark that live commerce might be something that you are going to invest in the future. And I would wholeheartedly encourage you to dive deep into this, because we think that live commerce can potentially contribute even 10% in every single country. That is a huge amount. And if you're a first mover here, you know, you're going to build guardrails and moats that are very difficult for competitors to cross. Yeah? All right, talking a bit about the macro, right? Zooming out a bit. if you look at the timelines from 2011 all the way to 2022, you see many large platforms like Twitch, Taobao, Facebook, Lazada, Shopee, Amazon, introducing their proprietary live commerce streaming solutions and tapping onto live commerce to drive sales and conversions and engagement. I want to bring your attention to two outliers here, like Uniqlo and Tumi. Obviously, they are huge behemoths in the retail space offline. Right? But what they're doing this year and beyond, they're really diving deep into live commerce like all of us here, and doubling down on the fact that this generation is video first, it's swappable media, and they want to bring this audience to focus on their brands as well. So beyond this year, we see many more other brands, not necessarily holding platforms, adopting direct-to-commerce strategies, video-first commerce strategies.
Kenneth, I might just jump in here because it's a
Sure.
very interesting scale that you just shared in terms of, looking at the behemoths of TikTok, Twitch, all the brands that are obviously utilizing social commerce in a big way. You might be getting into this in your later slides, but I think there's a few questions in the chat in terms
Sure.
of social commerce and how it reaches audience directly through these channels and social platforms. But how does this impact the collection of data and info? And I think this goes back to my initial question in the intro about the power of first-party data. If we continue to feed these beasts and we're not getting that first party, how can we ensure that we're having that relationship longevity with our customers as well and being able to utilize that?
Right, great question. So look, we don't intend to go head-to-head against the behemoths. What we want to do is leverage on the growth trends, but yet have a funnel to slowly collect first-party data. So to give you an example, I'll probably give you an example of a successful use case first, and then what are the cons of just relying on the social media platform like TikTok, all right? So first, one of our customers in Turkey, a brand in Turkey, they actually consistently did simulcast live streams on Facebook, on Instagram, and their own website, right? They did it over a span of 1 year. And the intention there was to migrate the Facebook Live viewers and Instagram Live viewers slowly but surely to their own website. And they have succeeded. Right? They've done this phenomenally well. They've actually migrated close to 70% of their viewers to their own website and collected first-party data, which means they know what their names are. They know perhaps their credit card details. Sorry, maybe not that, but they know exactly which transactions happen at which part of time, and whether it's through a credit card or whether it's through a traditional source of a payment. And additionally as well, they know exactly how to retarget them with their email addresses. This is very incredibly powerful. All right. So that's a success case. Maybe I'm just going to finish up with the detriment of purely having your brand on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. Right. If you are selling, let's say, a shoe, right? They're selling a shoe and you advertise on TikTok for a really great ad about the shoe, and someone taps on your commercial advertisement and they purchase. The next moment when they swipe the next video or the next 3 or 4 videos, they will see an advertisement for your competitor's product, another shoe. Right? So you can't blame the platforms, right? And really they want to incentivize viewership and conversions, but that's what you get. You will enter a deeper funnel of spending more and more money to stand out via ads.
Interesting. So I guess it's important for brands to think about how they can, like you mentioned, diversify and not be overly reliant on one player, be working on their own strategy. Does that include incorporating macro KOLs to perhaps drive their own live streams to, I guess, create shortcuts to build those audiences?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
I just meant if, for example, like you mentioned, the client that was looking to do their own live streams, do you suggest that they incorporate, macro KOLs, big KOLs to head up those live streams to help bring in those audiences faster?
Well, not really. I would see those as a one-off, and I will really keep in mind that a macro influencer, a YouTuber or Instagrammer might not be the best ambassador for your live streams. In fact, most of our customer success cases have been with micro influencers and sometimes even some of their staff or employees, right? So we've seen really successful cases in China even, where large cosmetic brands turn to their over-the-counter sales staff to do live streams to demonstrate their cosmetics, right? And they really have seen great success, and their staffs and employees become mini ambassadors and KOLs in their own right. Right, so you can start small. You don't need to spend a whole ton on a famous influencer.
Yeah, and if I may join one of our more successful live stream, we invited the founder of the bra that we were selling, right? It's a very millennial brand. She came and she explained the product so well, she was able to demo it so well because she's so passionate about it, and it actually drove a lot of sales. But it's just her being brave enough to put herself out there, right? Something to think about.
Thanks, Suzie. Sorry, Kenneth, you want to continue?
Okay, thanks though. Great questions, guys. Please keep them coming. All right, so here you go. I mean, first party data, we've spoken so much about it, right? But I'm going to talk about what this opportunity is direct to consumer. It's a big thing in the US and in India. In Southeast Asia, we're reliant on the large e-commerce platforms. Nothing wrong about it, but we do see a monopoly player like the Amazon S player, and then a Shopify S player like hopefully like BeLive can come in and democratize the ability to collect data, democratize the ability to broadcast video, and have viewership on your own websites and apps, right? So that's our intent. Yeah. So moving on, if we're talking a bit about, if a business has video marketing strategies, which I think many of them do at the moment, due to the climate, right? We are reliant on these following platforms, right? Depending on where you're situated. And as you mentioned correctly, Lacey, and the audience as well, right? You will lose data ownership. You might potentially lose margins as well, depending on where you end up selling to. Importantly, you lose customer loyalty, right? Your customers will see multiple of the competitors in a single session of browsing. And it's really difficult to build it yourself, right? Because, I don't think it's a very easy thing to build a whole live streaming platform and service. Right? So that's why BeLive comes in, right? A couple of use cases that are, I'm going to quickly show you guys. On the left is the marketplace, the largest marketplace in Turkey, Trendyol. They have 40 million money users. What you see on the left is a live stream, and very much like what Suzie has demonstrated, right? They have actually cut up the live streams into short videos and posted it on their platforms after the live stream is done as well. Right? So really, really successful. And the KOLs they're using are micro influencers. They don't have millions and millions of followers. They are ambassadors of campuses. They're ambassadors of thought leadership groups. That's it, right? Moving on to another use case, Grab. So if you open up the Grab app in Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia, and they're still doing a pilot test, you'll see a live stream, Grab Live, that's powered by BeLive. And using Grab Live, it's very interesting, right? They managed to deliver food directly from the live stream. You can order KFC or Pizza Hut directly from the live stream and have it delivered to your doorstep. Yeah. So Mediacorp, Suzie mentioned that already, and Wonder Shop has been one of the shining examples of how great content actually can actually really reinforce the brand attributes and help a lot of conversations happen within the live stream. Yeah. Right, data ownership. So I think, Lacey, when you mentioned first-party data, Changi Airport and Suntec City Group, right, they are very, very much aware of the importance of this. And the problem is when they started live streaming on Facebook, they would have customers, but they didn't know who the customers were after the live stream ended. And they were very much reliant on multiple live streams every single day, which became really expensive, really taxing to produce, to make sure and ensure that the same customers come in and build loyalty, right? So that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring the viewers into the Changi Airport app and the Suntec City website. And that's what they did successfully with our channel solutions. All right. So we talked a bit about the macro trends and how the world is shifting towards video first commerce, but I want to show you some really exciting new discoveries we have been fortunate enough to engage with. Yeah. So firstly, Grab, right? Diving a little bit deeper into Grab Live, what you see on the stream are influencers who are speaking about their love for Pizza Hut or KFC, and you can interact with them via comments, which is pretty traditional. But here, I'd like to pause here and show you these stickers, right? These stickers are virtual gifts, right? And they can be sent by expanding Grab points, right? So when you send a virtual gift, Grab points are removed from your balance. And as a company, it's a great mechanism to remove all this ends on the balance sheet, right? How loyalty program rewards. And we have redeemed almost $500,000 worth of Grab points just by virtue of virtual gifting. Yeah. So food delivery, virtual gifting, new frontiers for live streaming, not only home TV shopping or live commerce shopping. Yeah. Next, we have seen organizations use live stream to do charitable events and charity events. Yeah, so for example, Hyperlife and Tuesday hosted a charity event where they raised almost $200,000 Singapore dollars in a single 2-hour live stream. So people would actually scan the QR code and donate live, right? They could kind of request for their favorite song. It was a third eye-esque performance, right? They could request for their favorite song directly on the live stream as well. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with this particular live stream. PM Lee's fateful lockdown speech. So what BeLive has done here was to analyze this live stream in real time and tag sentiments to every single comment that was produced, right? Positive, negative, and neutral. So this might seem a bit confusing. Why do you need these contents for a live stream like this? In a political context, you probably can say that it might be used to determine who are promoters, detractors, or neutral observers. But if you look at it this way, right, you can actually kind of apply to a commerce context by saying certain things, right? So yeah, Lacey, I knew you were really interested on this topic. I want to hear your thoughts before I dive deeper.
No, to be honest, I was just thinking about the emojis and comments that would have shown up in this particular one about Prime Minister's pink shirt, because I think this was a viral one.
Yeah, his pink shirt, I'm sure it got sold out in many places after that happened. So, for example, kind of zooming into your pink shirt comment, right? Let's say if someone like Kenneth would ask, hey, do you have this pink shirt in a different color, like red in size L? Right, so we can deduce now via the comments and sentiments 3 things about you. You like the color red, you probably like shirts, and probably a size L, right? So then we bucket you into a persona. You might be a house husband, you might be an executive, you might be a student, whatever. And we tag it, the persona, to your transaction data. And now we can recommend you suitable products for you to purchase in the future because we have that first party data. Right? So that's super powerful sentiment analysis for live streams. Yeah, one of the frontiers of that live commerce. All right. So Suzie touched a bit about AR and try-ons, virtual try-ons. What you see here is the possibility of going to do a live stream without even appearing as who you are. And this is incredibly popular in Japan, maybe, where you have YouTubers, virtual tutors, where you animate characters appear on the screen and they interact with live stream viewers, and no one knows who they are. And they sound, exactly like your character, their personalities attached. And it's super interesting to me to see this happening. There might be a day you might not even need a real person to create a live stream. It brings me to my next point. So I'm gonna just shut up for a while and let you guys listen to this. Oh, Jay, could you help me with this, please? Yeah. I think the sound is not playing.
Hello, Retail Executive Summit. I'm speaking on behalf of Kenneth Tan from BeLive. I am not a real person. This is the future of live video. You don't even need a real person to live stream.
All right, so I'm sure no one wants to see my ugly face anymore than live stream. Next time I'm doing this, I'm going to do this by a virtual streamer. Yeah, this is incredible, right? St. DJ as a company, we claim no credit for this video. Just disclaimer, right? But we have seen many companies, some Korea, that have managed to replace their entire live stream repertoire with virtual streamers. Right? So this is incredibly exciting. Of course, it doesn't mean that there's no need for real human interactions. But what this means is, because live stream content is so difficult to produce, to find the right host is really quite a feat, right? If you manage to find a host that symbolizes your brand efficiently and really well, virtual streamers can be an alternative with certain formats of that interaction.
So Kenneth, this is obviously quite exciting for brands, but my question for you is, because there's so much talk around AI, around fraud, around trust, Do you think that's going to be an obstacle for consumers purchasing? Is this going to take some time to really kick off in terms of people building trust with virtual streamers?
Yeah, I think it's important to tag your campaigns to a reputable brand if you do intend to use virtual streamers, but that's putting on a regulatory corporate hat, right? If I were to put on my entrepreneur hat, I would say this is a huge opportunity for smaller brands to really go in, because it's purely due to the fact that there are no regulatory measures put in place, right? You might be one of the black sheep. I hope you don't, but if the opportunity is there, please research more. And it is really exciting for a neutral observer to look at a virtual streamer, and they might just kind of find out more about your brand if you use this well enough. So I do think it's a opportunity.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to end this slide by talking
Hello,
about
retail executive.
the power of video-first social commerce. First and foremost, it drives conversations, right? And these conversations eventually lead to engagement, which eventually leads to conversions as well. So video-first social commerce, please check it out. Don't take on a observer standpoint, just as Suzie mentioned, take action. Right? Let's create a small campaign, a few $100, $1,000. Give it a shot, you might be pleasantly surprised at the results.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Suzie. I think there's a lot of great content there, and I've been watching as we've been going through. There's been quite a lot of questions showing up in the Q&A. I'm not sure that we will have time to go through all of them, but I'm going to pick out a couple and I will direct them to both you, Kenneth and Suzie. So as we discussed earlier with the poll, we saw that there was a lot of brands that hadn't tried e-commerce first. One of the questions was, organic search for a particular brand is low unless consumers are already aware of the brand, product, or services. How can new brands take advantage of social commerce to build awareness? Should they even be looking at social commerce as a market strategy?
I can address that very quickly. Actually, because the research shows that people are actually very open to new brands and new stores. I think it says up to 1/3 are open to buy from brands or e-stores that they've not even heard of. So early on I said purchases, whether it's discovery-led or search-led, right? You think about it, search-led, frequently you already kind of know, the brands and that you want to look for, right? XYZ brand, and then you look for options. You kind of already narrow it down. But discovery-led commerce is surprising users with something that they didn't know. You think about it, right? So if you're a new brand, actually, I would encourage you to really embrace social commerce instead of fighting it out there with the search words and all that, right? I think it's worth a battle to create content, because at the heart of the matter is, can you create that content? Can you create that experience? Can you find the network, right? The 3 categories I spoke about, right? So start somewhere, and the beauty of social commerce is actually the content is not expensive to create. There's so much tools, there's CapCut, you can do your videos, your filters and all that, right? So much support, right? So content creation tools are there. Driving down the funnel, the tools are there too, because the platform is enabling you to click through, right? There's a banner there that clicks to a catalog leads to your product page, right? You just need your to do it at the back end to set it up properly so that the transaction from point of inspiration to checkout is all very seamless, right? So I would say that even if you're an unknown brand, embrace it, because I think it's a much more okay. I feel there's a chance that if you do the content right, you're very authentic about your brand attributes, the offer you're making, it will resonate. Yeah.
Thank you, Suzie. I think we have time for one more question before we have to go, and hopefully we'll be able to come back on some of the questions via email later. I'm going to address this one because there was a few people that mentioned it. It was a question on rampant discounting when it comes to social commerce, and how do we avoid, I guess, a race to the bottom when it comes to pricing. Kenneth, I might address this one to you.
Yeah, so I commented about first principles on the brand's essence, right? you would only need to raise to the bottom when you are intentionally targeting a group of users that come in for discounts, right? So in fact, for most of our customers, we've seen really loyal viewers who come in not because they want discounts, but because they are really interested in understanding more about the product, and the ambassadors to talk about the product, right? So the ambassadors are really important. The streamers and the people who are always the first commenters, right? So a lot of times when you look at social commerce, you look at the streamers, but you also need to be aware about the people who comment the most, the people who stay on the stream the most. Try and engage them a bit more, right? Because then you will have a group of super angels who will kind of come to every single stream and help you defend the product. And when people catch that kind of enthusiasm in the live stream, that's the power of live on social commerce, right? You can catch the enthusiasm, tonality, even the comments, right? They will be infected. Right? And then you can have a really strong following. And I think it sounds quite idealistic. Yeah, I know it sounds idealistic. Eventually, marketing dollars have to be spent. But where you spend the marketing dollars is, I think, really important. Focus on getting the right customers.
Thank you, Kenneth. I think that's really interesting. It goes back to even traditional social, 10 engaged users are better than 100 viewers as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah, thank you. I think that's all we have time for today, but it's been a very interesting and enlightening conversation. I just want to thank Kenneth for joining us from BeLive. And Suzie as well. I wish everyone a fantastic day ahead. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks everybody for your time.